Coming up, Latino leaders from across the country came to Atlanta this week to bring their powerful voices and bold ideas to the table. We'll take a look at what was discussed and how it's going to play out in the months ahead. Something we all need, a good night's sleep, but a lot of people in Georgia are struggling to get it. Find out what's leading to nights of tossing and turning all through the night. And we'll offer plenty of bull today by talking with one of the nation's top bull riders as he gets set for a wild ride this weekend in Metro Atlanta. This is The Take. Glad you're here. Hello and welcome to The Take. I'm Cheryl Preheim, filling in for my friend Chesley McNeil. This is The Take, where we go behind the headlines, look at why and how stories are impacting your community. Experts will share what they know, and we will have a little fun too. Let's take a live look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for you. This is going to be in the international spotlight with the 2026 World Cup. 8 matches slated for the Benz, with the first now less than 11 months away. It's the event now being used as the catalyst for a bold new $212 million push to get hundreds of unsheltered residents into housing, starting right in the heart of downtown. With more on this mission is Catherine Vassell, CEO of Partners for Home, collaborating with the City of Atlanta on this initiative. Welcome to the show and thanks for the time.
Thanks so much for having me.
So Atlanta has a history of cleaning up visible homelessness before big events. How is this effort, do you feel, different?
Yeah, this effort aligns with what we've been focused on for the last 10 years now, which is getting folks out of homelessness as quickly as possible into the right tailored housing solution with the right complement of supportive services. And that's been something we have been squarely focused on with both this administration as well as prior administrations, to utilize a housing first effort to get folks, as I said, into housing as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because it's not just about getting into housing, but keeping families, individuals in housing. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of spokes to that wheel. So those things would be crucial to make sure it's a long-term solution. So talk more about how you're making sure it isn't just a short-term fix, maybe before the World Cup spotlight hits Atlanta, but a longer solution that could really change the city for decades to come.
Yeah, and I do want to double down on that point that this is not just about the World Cup and because of the World Cup, and that, as I said before, we've been focused on how we can scale our system with the right types of housing solutions, both now and, as you said, for years to come. This campaign is a little bit different. It's similar in some of the work we've done prior, in that we're doubling down on the things we know have been effective. Permanent supportive housing is something we've been investing in and developing over the years and are continuing to do that. And our permanent supportive housing has a 90% efficacy rate at keeping people in housing and preventing them from returning to homelessness. But what's new about this campaign and different about this campaign is the recognition that there is a higher acuity among people experiencing homelessness in our community. In other words, people have severe and persistent mental health issues. Sometimes there are co-occurring addiction issues. And then sometimes there are also comorbid, complex chronic medical conditions that people need attention to desperately. And so as a part of this campaign, we are looking at expanding and building on the work that's been done in the past by ensuring that there's the right complement of supportive services. We've launched, in partnership with Dr. Mark Holzberg, an effort to partner with the 5 major area health systems across our community to ensure that people who are getting stuck in emergency rooms and hospital beds, who no longer need that intensive level of care, can get discharged to the right housing solution with more intensive wraparound supports for them to ensure they can stabilize in housing and stay in housing and not return to homelessness.
And these efforts are kind of in parallel with housing prices, rent prices, everyday prices going up, which is a challenge for really most families in the city, especially ones who are living dollar to dollar, paycheck to paycheck. Can you talk us through maybe your thoughts on whether it's realistic to say we're on a path to eliminate unsheltered homelessness in downtown by 2026? Or is this about managing it better in your thoughts?
I think it's both and. There's no question that we are facing incredible headwinds as a homeless crisis response system. To your point of rising rents across the community and really the evaporation of what was once deeply, deeply affordable housing. Many of the individuals that I talked about and mentioned before are dealing with complex challenges and barriers and have extremely low incomes. These are individuals that might be on a supplemental security income due to a long-term disabling condition. And that's about $900 a month that an individual is trying to live on.
Wow.
And so if you could imagine trying to live on $900 a month, which I'm sure you're struggling to try to imagine,
Sure.
like us, then we are faced with having to come up with housing solutions that are going to work for that individual and that will be subsidized long term to be deeply, deeply affordable so that that individual is no longer paying more than 30% of their income for rent. But to the point of eliminating unsheltered homelessness in the downtown area by the World Cup, I want to paint a picture for you because what that means for us is that we have created and scaled our system to have enough housing solutions for everybody who's experiencing homelessness in our system right now. And that we're creating and investing sufficiently so that when new people become homeless, so this isn't a matter of eradicating homelessness forever in our system. We know that new people are going to be coming into our system every single day. But we've got to create a system that is scaled and resourced such that when somebody new becomes homeless, that we have an immediate placement to offer them temporarily, and then we can exit them out of homelessness quickly and get them into a permanent housing solution so that they're not languishing on the streets of Atlanta and they're not languishing in the homeless system for longer than they need to be.
Catherine Vessel, we really appreciate the time. There's so much more I hope we can talk about in the months ahead as we learn more about the program that really could make such a tremendous impact for so many people in our city. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, don't go anywhere. You are watching The Take, and we'll be right back. As the calls to release all the Jeffrey Epstein files grow louder from both sides of the aisle, President Trump is now making his way out of the country. Joining us now, NBC's Washington correspondent, Alice Barr. Good to see you again, Alice.
Good morning, Cheryl. Good to see you.
Every day brings a lot to talk about out of Washington. The president making his way to Scotland right now, but he won't be able to shake off this controversy. Let's talk about this trip and how the White House is trying to deflect from the Epstein case.
Yeah, that's right. He's heading overseas, but certainly Washington is still embroiled in this Epstein controversy. During this trip, President Trump is heading first to Scotland, and he's going to tour his golf courses there. He's also set to talk with the UK Prime Minister about trade and, as we understand it, firm up some details of a trade agreement outline that was reached several weeks back. And that comes as we're zeroing in on the August 1st deadline for a lot of these trade deals to be tied up. He's trying to focus on progress that has been made in terms of tariffs and trade. Also worth noting, he's going to be touring these golf courses today. Yesterday, he toured renovations at the Federal Reserve, a very rare visit from a sitting president to the Federal Reserve. And it's been part of his criticism of the Fed chairman, these costly renovations that are ongoing there. And there wound up being a really tense exchange. It was remarkable between the president and the Fed chairman, where the president called out a figure on how much the renovation is costing. The Fed chairman fact-checked him in real time, and it just points to the tense nature of the relationship between these very important figures. As President Trump has been pressuring the chairman to lower interest rates, he did, though, yesterday indicate he is not planning to fire the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell.
Yeah, that was an incredible moment where he kind of held up the invoice and And Secretary Powell's like, nope, that's not the way it's going down. All right. So the Justice Department's second in command meeting for a second day today with convicted Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell and her attorneys. But Alice, you're saying there's some serious questions about whether Maxwell can be trusted?
Yeah, so this is an effort by the Trump administration to come up with some more ways to, answer these calls for transparency that are not dying down, certainly from many quarters, and among them, President Trump's base. So the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who worth noting is President Trump's former personal lawyer, he's meeting for a second day today with Ghislaine Maxwell with her attorneys. He said he would share what he learned at the appropriate time. But what we know about Maxwell is that she is appealing her 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking minors as the convicted accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, who, of course, died in prison by suicide, how it was ruled. So he's not able to face the consequences. She is the one who is now. Prosecutors and the judge who oversaw Maxwell's 2021 trial have accused her of lying under oath and not taking responsibility for her actions. So Democrats are deeply suspicious of this meeting ongoing today and yesterday, and they argue that Maxwell may well be angling for a presidential pardon and that anything she says has to be backed up through, once again, the Epstein files that they are still pressing to have released.
Alice, we have about a minute left. I wanted to ask you more about these files because we keep hearing lawmakers on both sides, both parties pressing to force the release of the full Department of Justice files. A lot of files are already out in the Epstein case. What are you seeing in those?
Right. It's worth noting that while they want everything out there, except, of course, for redactions for the victims' names and anything that needs to be protected in that nature, and there has been now some formal action in the works on Capitol Hill to make that happen, there has been a good deal of evidence made public. And one piece of reporting that's been coming up is this new Wall Street Journal reporting citing senior administration officials that the Attorney General briefed President Trump in May that his name appears in the unreleased files among many other high-profile figures. That, for instance, we already knew because it's come out in public reporting that President Trump's name did come up here. We know that they had a past relationship that the White House has been working to dismiss and to say that he kicked him out of his club. That Trump kicked Epstein out of his club for being a creep many years ago. So it's that kind of thing that's not new information, but that is just kind of coming back to the surface now.
Sure. All right, Alice Barr, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. Plenty more coming up for you. This is The Take on 11Alive Plus. They are jarring, dangerous, and often totally avoidable. Bridge strikes by tall trucks have caused costly damage and major traffic headaches across Georgia. In July of 2021, a tall truck struck the State Road 86 overpass on I-16. The force of the impact shifted it about 6 feet. That bridge had to be demolished and rebuilt, and it reopened a year later. Then in 2023, a tractor trailer reportedly 40,000 pounds overweight struck the old Mount Vernon Highway Bridge over the top end perimeter. Remember this one? This made it necessary to replace the bridge, which was completed in April of 2024. Then last July, an excavator on a trailer collided with the overpass, delaying planned improvements. That bridge remained closed while repairs were made, and it reopened just last week. These kinds of incidents has GDOT asking drivers to check your height and know it's right. With more on this campaign, Kyle Collins, GDOT's Communications Program Manager. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, good morning. It's a great thing to focus on for safety this morning.
Yeah, really important. It impacts a lot of people, businesses in those areas when the road closures happen those strikes, and then traffic, of course. We went through a couple of the recent ones. But how big of a problem is this overall in Georgia, and is it getting worse?
Well, the last 10 years, we've had about 16 bridge strikes on the state route system. Most of those have been on the interstate highways. You highlighted the two on I-16 and also the one that hits closer to home in Sandy Springs in 2023. So not only do they cause millions of dollars of damage, but you got to think of the thousands of hours lost for required detours and really just headaches for local folks trying to get to and from, not to mention the economic development impacts for deliveries and what have you. So it's something we want to raise awareness for. We joined a coalition of eastern states to promote this week, and it's something we feel is totally preventable and avoidable if drivers just pay attention to their clearance, especially when they're driving large trucks.
Yeah, it could help every driver dealing with traffic, and that's everybody in our city every day. So why do you think this is a problem? I'm thinking about everybody knows the height of their car before they go into a parking garage or maybe their own garage. Why do you think the problem persists, even if there are clearance signs and past crashes making headlines? Is this just a knowledge gap or forgetfulness?
I think it could be some of both, and that's part of what this campaign is trying to address, just to remind folks, and specifically for Georgia, each state sets their own height requirements, but we have a maximum of 13 feet 6 inches if you're traveling on the interstate highway, and usually the overpasses and bridges are going to be far beyond that. But specifically, let's focus on the incident in Sandy Springs. Someone was towing an excavator. Essentially, they had a long trailer, and the excavator wasn't secured properly, and that's what led to that incident. Typically, that's what we've seen. The other incidents on I-16 you referenced, same type of deal, just a unsecure load that didn't meet those height requirements. And if you do, if you're a commercial driver carrying something that's over that height, we do have a permitting process where you can get a safe route to still navigate the state to get where you need to go. But it's just something we want people to be aware of. You may be renting a box truck to do some moving, traveling on local bridges that are lower than that threshold we have on the interstate, and it's just something to be mindful of.
That's a really good point. You're renting a box truck or like a moving truck. And I didn't realize every state has its own requirement. So if you're going state to state, and for truckers who are working state to state, they have to know when they're crossing those state lines and how those requirements change. So you were talking about some of the examples of the amount of damage and traffic, but that's also lost dollars. Talk about how much a single bridge strike might cost, like ballpark.
Yeah, just to reference, as I was involved with the Truthland County I-16 incident you referenced in 2021 that moved that bridge. I think it was 6 feet when the excavator struck it. I think some preliminary numbers for lost daily economic impact was around $220,000 to $250,000 just day by day that bridge was out of service. And of course, given the damage sustained, we had to demolish that bridge, and it was quickly rebuilt. It opened about a year to the day later, and there's a nice modern bridge thereafter. But yeah, not only the impacts to state and federal dollars that have to go back into addressing it, but also the loss in economic development, specifically when we're talking about some of these major Atlanta and Southeast Georgia interstates.
Wow, $250,000 a day. That is a very costly mistake. So final thought before we let you go, some advice for anybody maybe renting a moving truck over the weekend. What do we want to make sure everybody knows?
Yeah, just double check that max height of the vehicle. You should be able to find that out, from the rental agency, or even there's some low cost major measurement sticks you could get if you really wanted to double check. But your GPS is not going to accurately tell you the height of those bridges. So it's just something to be aware of. And obviously our commercial driver friends and CDL holders should already do that as part of their pre-trip check. So just pay attention to it, and we don't want any more bridge strikes in the state of Georgia if we can help it.
No doubt. Waze cannot help us out on this one. Kyle Collins, we're glad that you can help us out on this one, and we thank you for the time.
Yeah, everybody be safe.
All right. Don't go anywhere. More of The Take coming up right here on 11Alive Plus. From artificial intelligence to affordable housing, mental health to immigration policy, more than 1,000 Latino leaders from across the country came together for conversations which were as urgent as they were inspiring. With more on the conference for the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, or NALEO. Its communications manager, Juan Rosa, is with us. Welcome, Juan. This was your biggest gathering of Latino elected leaders yet. What are some of the biggest challenges Latino leaders are grappling with right now?
Yes, thank you so much for having us on, and thank you so much to the whole of Atlanta for hosting us this week. It was our first annual conference to be held in the South. And it did not disappoint. So we're very pleased to have come to Atlanta. Well, some of the biggest challenges facing Latino leaders were obviously issues around immigration enforcement in the communities, but there's also those bread and butter issues that they're helping their constituencies deal with. So, for example, I know you mentioned on the list housing. It is something that is housing affordability. It is one topic that is very present on our members' minds. Education is an issue that is always present in the minds of our elected members because, again, education is still one of the on-ramps into prosperity in this country. And again, something that our elected officials focus on a lot. One of the biggest topics this year were the changes to the Medicaid program. So those are some of the big topics that we tackled at our conference this week.
You're the National Director for Civic Engagement. I'm sure you're hearing stories from all around the country as the immigration changing climate has been dramatic. And we're hearing stories in Atlanta about individuals who are being put in detention maybe just for a cracked tail light or not having what would be considered a criminal record. What conversations are you having around that, and what message would you like to share to the community about it?
Yeah, so on two ends, right? So for our members, what we focus on, again, our elected leaders, what we focus on this week, what are some of the solutions that they can look to at their level of jurisdiction? So at the town level, at the school board level, or even at the state or federal level, and how collaboration among those levels of government can help sort of mitigate some of the issues that have been encountered. So that's for our elected members. For our community members, one of the big areas of work for us when we face our community is encouraging U.S. naturalization. So there are more than 9 million lawful permanent residents in this country, people who hold green cards or are eligible to naturalize. And out of those 9 to 10 million, more than 4 million are Latinos. So we've been working since the 1980s to promote U.S. naturalization. We also promote participation in the U.S. Census every 10 years and in the different survey programs that the census does throughout the decades. I mentioned those because those are two civic actions that require trust, that our community members trust that their information is safe, trust that government is looking out for their benefit and welfare. And so we are being challenged in that regard in terms of sort of communicating to community members that they can trust their government. And so we are empowering organizations on the ground to do Know Your Rights forums, to make legal representation affordable and available in the communities. And so what we're encouraging our members, we run a hotline 888-839-8682. It is national in scope and bilingual, English, Spanish. And what we do there is that we connect community members with the legal professionals, again, low cost or free, that can help them in this situation.
So that they can be engaged and have a voice. We'll make sure that we share that phone number on our website, Juan. Thank you so much. I know 2026, a huge election year right around the corner. That trust and that engagement will be more important than ever. Thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Plenty more coming up for you on The Take here on 11 Alive. We'll be right back. Georgia, we are getting used to being the center of the political universe, right? There is still a good 15 months left in the campaign ahead of next November's midterm election, but we're already seeing seismic shifts in who's running and who's pulling out. Let's bring in 11 Alive Zach Merchant, co-host of the Georgia Vote. Zach, we saw a huge shakeup this week in Georgia's Senate race. Catch us up.
Yeah, we really did. And you know, we come on the show every week, and I'm running out of ways that are not cliche to say it was a big week in Georgia politics, but that's because it just keeps happening. And this was a really big development. John King, Georgia's Republican insurance commissioner, who just a few months ago announced that he was running for Senate. Just recently, maybe a week or two ago, we reported his fundraising haul. He raised just shy of $1 million. He was taking this campaign seriously. Now it's over. He announced just yesterday afternoon that he is suspending his campaign for the Republican nomination to go ahead and challenge Democratic incumbent Jon Ossoff in the 2026 Georgia Senate race.
Why suspend the campaign now?
You know, he said, and I want to read you a little bit of his tweet. It came out just about 2 o'clock. That's how he had made the announcement yesterday. He said, Right now, it is clear there is little path forward to the nomination. So, in some ways, yeah, of course, right? You don't suspend your campaign if you think there is a road forward. King obviously thinking there was no real viable avenue for him to take. But some of our reporting in the hours following that announcement reveals that Republican Governor Brian Kemp may also have had an influence on that decision. Two sources confirmed to the 11Alive political team that the governor in recent days had been making calls to Republican candidates in the race, Republican likely candidates or potential candidates, and telling them that he was not going to be endorsing them, and instead he planned to throw his support behind what appears to be the soon-to-be launching Senate campaign of former Tennessee football coach Derek Dooley.
Interesting. I know my wheels are spinning because we saw the video with John King next to Brian Kemp. They've worked very closely together, of course, during Governor Kemp's tenure, and pretty aligned maybe politically. We talk a lot about how there's sort of kind of two parts of the Republican Party, one that really aligns more deeply with the MAGA movement, and maybe the other's more traditional, what we consider traditional Republican. So this is fascinating, and I knew you'd be on top of it all. So there's also a committee making some waves at the state capitol, and it could impact how much people pay in taxes. So let's talk a little bit about this effort to eliminate state income tax. Senator John Kennedy, among others, on the committee? Yeah,
John Kennedy is. He was the Senate President pro tem, which is the kind of the second ranking member of the Georgia Senate, sitting just under the lieutenant governor. He's a Republican. He is running now for lieutenant governor. He's on this committee that now lieutenant governor and hopes to be, in his view, Burt Jones, he wants to be the state's next governor, recently spun up, targeted at eliminating the state income tax. It's a cornerstone of Burt Jones's Republican campaign for governor. John Kennedy, a Republican running for lieutenant governor, is on this committee, along with two of his other Republican rivals in the state's lieutenant governor race. And on top of that, we should mention in the state Senate, there is also a Democrat who's running for lieutenant governor. So we've got this committee going with three of the prominent candidates for lieutenant governor, plus another Democrat not on the committee, but in the Senate. You might wonder, will this impact how these legislators, make laws next year? Because they're going to be in the middle of a campaign season, but they still have to get done the legislating that is their job. John Kennedy is on the Georgia vote this weekend. We asked him that question. And the other big one, you think about eliminating the state income tax. In Georgia, you have to pass, if you're a state lawmaker, a balanced budget. How do you pay for this income tax cut? We asked him that question, too. You can see it this weekend. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. If you don't have a state income tax, you still have a lot of things to pay for. That money has to come from somewhere. This is going to be a very interesting one to follow. Zach, we always appreciate the insight. Thanks so much. Thanks, Cheryl. All right, you can watch the Georgia Vote with Zach and Faith Jesse Sunday mornings, 11 o'clock, right here on 11Alive. Good sleep brings better health. So let me ask you a question. How'd you sleep last night? For too many people, the answer is, I didn't sleep very well. I'm pretty much dragging today. Data from the CDC backs that up. It shows that nearly 2 in 5 adults in Georgia are getting less than 7 hours of sleep a night. This comes out to more than 3 million people in the Peach State saying that they are struggling to get enough sleep. The percentage is well above the national average of around 1 in 3 adults. Here to find out what's keeping us up at night, Dr. Savita Kutil, who practices internal medicine for Northside Hospital. Welcome to the show, doctor. Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much for having me, Cheryl. I actually practice with Kaiser Permanente, have been for many, many years. And as an internist who actually fell into sleep medicine because I saw it at home. My husband was diagnosed with sleep apnea, and learning about his situation and researching, I was fascinated with what sleep does to, how sleep affects different parts of the brain and the body. And since then, it's just been rewarding to help people with their sleep issues.
Yeah, so it really started as something you experienced personally and then broadened out. I'm sure so many people will tell you in your practice, I'm just not a good sleeper. How do you even begin to unpack that medically?
It's not easy, generally, because they mention that at the very end, when they're done with all their major problems. Oh, by the way, I can't sleep. So I feel it's very, very important to take those 2, 3 extra minutes to kind of delve into why aren't you sleeping? And almost always it's insufficient sleep, sort of by design, especially since COVID. It's work life, intruding into your personal life. So you sit down and take a quick sleep history and kind of unpack the many layers. And you see that people are drinking coffee after noon. They don't have any consistency to their bedtime or wake time. And they think 4 hours of sleep, they can do just fine with 4 hours of sleep. So these kind of misconceptions about sleep that you kind of chip away at that, give them handouts because you can't do it all in one visit. But it's extremely, extremely important to tell people why their sleep is such an important thing. Once you have that, once they internalize that, then the next steps of how, it's easy peasy, I would say.
Easy peasy, because there is the medical reasoning for not getting good sleep. And then there are the choices that we make every day. Our to-do lists are long. And isn't it interesting? The first thing we seem to cut back on is rest, when that's got this direct, important relationship with our health. So what are the biggest red flags you see in patients who routinely shortchange their rest? Some things that might make them reconsider that choice.
Yeah, in the immediate aftermath of sleep deprivation, what happens is you just don't think straight. Your focus is off, you're irritable, you're an emotional mess. So I'm sure you know that Chernobyl, that nuclear disaster, happened because a sleep-deprived person was at the helm. So things like this happen immediately, but if you let it go, and not too long, if you let it go just a bit longer, you really increase your risk of all kinds of chronic diseases, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease. It can also impact your lifespan. How long you live might be determined by how much you choose to sleep.
Those are good incentives to sleep. We only have a few seconds left, Doctor. Really quickly, in Georgia, we're seeing some of the worst sleep numbers in the country. Why are we so far behind in that?
And I would chalk it down to, again, a lack of dissemination of the awareness of why sleep's important. And I think that, the first line therapy or the first line treatment for sleep deprivation is cognitive behavioral therapy, and helping people understand their wrong beliefs about sleep. There's not too many sleep specialists to go around, and there's not too many sleep therapists to go around. And physicians are challenged with their time.
Well, I'm glad. If awareness is the key, you have certainly helped us with that. Dr. Kutil, thank you so much for the time today.
I appreciate you having me here. Thank you so much.
Hope to have you back. This is a topic we can all relate to. More coming up in just a minute. Welcome back. We're going to dig a little deeper into the ongoing feud between President Trump and Fed Chair Jerome Powell, played out in real time yesterday. CNN's Mirabelle Hebert joining us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Cheryl.
All right, this was just an unusual moment unfolding right in front of all the cameras.
Was it ever, Cheryl, in hard hats and all? But President Trump says he doesn't think it's necessary to fire Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. This after Trump visited the Federal Reserve to check on cost overruns for the ongoing renovations of the Fed's headquarters. Wearing hard hats, the two men toured the building, had this tense exchange in front of reporters about how much over budgeted the project was running. Trump said the two had a productive talk about lowering interest rates during the visit. As for the cost overruns of the renovations, Trump said, quote, "The costs got out of control." And that happens. As for what may happen with interest rates, the Fed's next meeting is next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Fed is not expected to cut its key interest rate, Cheryl.
It's interesting. President Trump pulled out that piece of paper, but Jerome Powell just kind of fact-checked him in real time and said, we haven't overrun that much. So that was a tense moment. So one day after a big rollout for Elon Musk and Starlink, looks like the signal's gone silent.
For Starlink, it looks like Elon Musk's Starlink suffered a rare outage yesterday, just a day after its satellite service with T-Mobile was launched. The satellite internet service says it experienced a network outage, and at one point, website Down Detector had more than 60,000 reports of the problem. Starlink is owned by SpaceX, and Musk apologized for the outage. The problem lasted about 2.5 hours, and SpaceX says by evening it had recovered from that outage. Cheryl.
All right, well, sounds like Golden Arches getting a little more flair with their drink choices?
Yeah, McDonald's is going to start testing a variety of new drinks at more than 500 locations later this summer. Everything from flavored sodas to coffee drinks, refreshers will be offered there. Some of the drinks were inspired by Cosmix. If you remember, that was McDonald's sort of standalone restaurant. They were really focused on snacks and drinks. Among the refreshers being tested are a creamy vanilla cold brew and a strawberry watermelon refresher and a toasted vanilla frap. So McDonald's is really hoping, Cheryl, that these drinks will bring younger consumers into their stores because that's what they're really looking for. They're looking for those Instagrammable shots and those drinks.
Yeah, my kids are all about, like, they don't say, Mom, let's go get a snack. They're always like, Mom, let's get a fun drink.
See, and you know what, Cheryl, too, it's also, it's sort of a less expensive way for McDonald's to kind of get in the game and compete with Starbucks and and boba tea. I mean, that's really what's popular with kids and not have to do a lot of changes to its menu.
All right. Maribel, always fun to talk to you. Thanks so much for the information.
Great.
Plenty more coming up for you here on The Take. You are watching 11 Alive+. Think about how fast 8 seconds is. Now think about 8 seconds on a 1,500-pound wild animal. It's just trying to throw you off every second of the ride. That's what some of the nation's best bull riders will be doing this weekend at Gas South Arena in Duluth. Here now is professional bull rider Dalen Swearigan, who's slated to be part of the action. So glad to talk to you, Darren.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on today.
All right, I'm not getting on a bull, so I want to hear it from you. Describe that 8-second ride. Is it total chaos? Is it total focus and adrenaline, just a mixture of all of that?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of all that. You kind of got to just let your body know what it knows how to do and let it kind of go into a different, I got to let it kind of go into a different place and not hear the sounds and just let my body react how it knows how to do it.
It seems like this combination of like staying loose, but also using every ounce of strength that you have. A lot of people think bull riding's just pure grit. How much of it is strategy?
Oh, yeah, it's 100% strategy. And I mean, this bull weighs, 2,000 pounds. There's no way a 150-pound cowboy is going to outpower or outmuscle a 200-pound animal. I mean, these bulls are so strong. They feel us and feel where our body weight is so good. You just kind of got to react to their moves and counter them the best you can.
I just like to follow you around a dinner party when people say, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" and you say bull rider, just to see their reaction. I bet this is so much fun to talk about. So this weekend is a team competition, and you're a member of the Carolina Cowboys. Describe how that team format works.
Oh yeah, the team format. Our coach picks our bulls. There's 5 guys that'll play in a game against another team that has 5 guys. They match the bulls accordingly to our riding styles, try to match the bulls the best of the ability, and it's just the overall score wins, the aggregate on 5 against 5, and whoever has the highest one wins.
All right, I have to ask you, I got to backtrack. What do people say when they find out you're a bull rider?
Yeah, well, the first question every time is, how many bones have you broken? And then, it just kind of goes on.
What's the answer?
From there. Oh, definitely a couple handfuls.
A couple handfuls. Oh, man, I'm thinking about your mom right now. So we hear the bulls are just as famous as the riders. When you find out a bull's name, does it give you any hint for what you're up for?
Oh, yeah. These bulls are athletes themselves. All these bulls have been there and done it. That's why they're on the top level of the PBR. To have a good bull ride, you got to have a great bull. It's 50 points for the bull and 50 points for the rider. So, without a good bull, you don't have a good ride. And so the Bulls are half of our, like, they make our job easier and harder, you know. You kind of know what these Bulls are going to do typically, but at the end of the day, they got a mind of their own and they're going to do what they want to do.
No doubt. Talk about the popularity of bull riding. Have you seen it growing, and where's it going?
Yeah, I think this sport's really growing a lot, definitely in the last couple years. You know, I think just because it's the last sport where it's man versus beast, you know, once that gate opens, there's no whistle going to stop anything. It's going to play out however God wants to, whether that's a good wreck or a great ride or bad ride, you know, however it is. You know, we don't get paid unless we do good. So we bring 100% of our effort every single time. And I think that's what's so cool about this sport is, you know, everybody on this, even in the individual season, all of us Cowboys are all wanting everybody to do good, you know, like at the end of the day, we're going against the Bull, not these other guys.
Is there one ride you will always remember, one that sticks out?
Oh yeah, for sure. The year I won the world in 2022, I rode a bull. I'm legit too. I rode him. You know, that was a bull that kind of definitely helped stamp my career. He was just a great bull to me, and I rode him at the PBR finals that year, and you know, that one always sticks out to me.
That's awesome. So you've been tossed, trampled. You've broken a couple handfuls of bones. What keeps you coming back and climbing back on every time?
You know, I think it's just the love of the sport, and you know, this is what I've always done. This is how I provide for my family, and you know, this is just the way I know to live. You know, so that's why I keep coming back. I love the sport. I love traveling around. I love doing what I love to do.
Real quick, how old were you when you started?
I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. I started riding sheep and calves and just kept working my way up. And professionally, I've been doing it for 7 years now.
Mutton bustin' started it all.
Yep.
All right. Hey, really great to talk to you. Looking forward to the weekend event, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank y'all. Hope to see y'all there.
All right, take care. If you want to see all the wild excitement, the PBR Camping World Team Series competitions run Saturday starting 6:45 p.m., Sunday at 1:45 p.m. at Gas South Arena in Duluth. Doors open 1 hour before each show. Tickets are available on pbr.com and on Ticketmaster. We have more for you coming up here on The Take. We'll be right back here on 11Alive Plus. Before we go, my final take. If feeling like the days are flying by, you are not wrong. They literally are. Scientists say that the Earth is spinning faster this summer by 1.36 milliseconds. We lost another millisecond on Tuesday. It happens again on August 5th, thanks to things like the moon's pull and our planet's swirling liquid core. A millisecond is barely enough time to blink, but it is just enough to raise eyebrows in the science and the tech world. You won't feel it, but your computer might. Over time, these tiny changes can mess with satellites, servers, and systems that keep our modern world ticking. Some experts even say it could trigger a high-tech headache on par with Y2K. For the rest of us, just feels like time is slipping. The sun's setting earlier, the first day of school is circling, and the summer to-do lists are still half finished at best at my house. So you aren't imagining it. The days are literally getting shorter. Time is flying. Now, if only those weekends could spin just a little bit more slowly. Whatever you're doing this weekend, we hope it's a lot of fun and safe. Thanks for being with us here on The Take. Have a great rest of the day.